This whole SignalGate fiasco has definitely demonstrated just a ton of incompetence on the part of this administration, but we should also take a look at the sheer hypocrisy these people are willing to engage in to try to keep themselves in power. I mean, how many times did we hear these different officials just go off at the Democrats for their own supposed national security blunders? Whether it was Hillary's emails, whether it was Joe Biden's classified documents. I mean, they used to scream that the Democrats were putting American lives at risk. But now that the MAGA lunatics are in charge, they just get to run away from these principles as fast as they can. I mean, even Pete Hegseth himself used to at least pretend to know that dealing with classified information was a pretty big deal. But now that he's Secretary of Defense, he's kind of just brushing that all aside and isn't willing to take any accountability for what he has actually done. I mean, just look at him here talking about how intelligence officers rely on us to keep them safe. If you guys do appreciate my work, please do remember to subscribe.
The people we rely on to do dangerous and difficult thing for us rely on one thing from us, that we will not reveal their identity and not be reckless with what the dangerous things they're doing for us. That's the national security implications of a private server that's unsecured. That's why we look at a guy like Snowden and say, he's not a hero, he's a traitor. He put lives at risk, and you can get people killed when you do that.
Yeah, old Pete is exactly right. But why isn't new Pete following his own advice? He is the one who took classified information and put it in a third-party messaging app that was an unsecured channel. I mean, not only was it insane for him to be discussing this classified material in Signal, but not a single person stood up and said, hey, this is not the proper way for us to be doing this. We need to move this into a secure location or whatever the protocol would be. Not a single person stood up and said, hey, this is not the proper channel to do that, which is just absolutely insane to me. And it just kind of goes to show that this administration is probably using the Signal app in ways that it shouldn't be used. If they were so careless and just freely typing in Signal and didn't even recognize that a journalist from The Atlantic was in that chat, I mean, what else are they doing that is putting American lives at risk? I mean, it's pretty damning on the part of this administration. And here's Pete Hegseth again talking about how unsecured methods are dangerous.
Hillary Clinton, if there was anyone other than Hillary Clinton, they would be in jail right now.
Correct.
For what has been done. Because the assumption is in the intelligence community, if you are using unclassified means, there is the potential for and likelihood that foreign governments are targeting those accounts and gathering intelligence from them, which means that individual and the others associated with them have been passing around through unsecure networks information, sources and methods of people on the ground, covers compromised in real time.
Yes.
This is a real deal, full-blown national security scandal.
Right.
And Republicans need to keep pointing that out time and time again. The question is, will Bernie have the courage to do it?
Sandra,
yeah, he's making some pretty good points here, and I would argue that this national security blunder is far worse than anything that Hillary or Biden ever did. I mean, you've got the Secretary of Defense who is sharing classified information about an upcoming military operation in a third-party messaging app. And then there's a journalist from The Atlantic listening in, and nobody ever knew it. I mean, just how insane is that? These people used to understand that talking in unsecured channels, disclosing this type of information could put people's lives at risk. But now that they are in power, all of this, I guess, has been forgotten. I mean, and nobody wants to take accountability. But Pete Hegseth used to understand that accountability is absolutely needed.
He is the president of the United States, which does create complications. But it also increases the urgency. If the top man in the job handled classified documents this flippantly for that long, why was that the case? Was it really that he didn't know? Because when you take something out of a skiff, if you're a senator, you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what you're doing.
You had to sneak it out.
And you're moving it. You had to sneak it out. Or someone gave it to you with the wrong protocol, which you were complicit in. And then you don't even know how many you have, and you've clearly hidden them from the public. You're the president of the United States. As was stated earlier by Governor Sununu, if at the very top there's no accountability, why should there be for Christian Saucier, the submariner who took photos in a submarine and didn't even show them to anybody, just had them, and they wanted to throw away the key on the guy? That's the two tiers of justice that exist.
So does that same 2 tiers of justice that supposedly existed back then, does that exist now? Because that's sure what it seems like, because nobody in the Trump administration seems to want to take accountability for any of this. And how are the people who serve in our military, serve in our intelligence community, how are they supposed to trust that the highest level officials are looking out for their best interest, keeping them safe, if none of them are willing to take accountability? When you got the highest levels of personnel, somebody like Pete Hegseth, who is sharing very sensitive information in a third-party messaging app, how are people in the military supposed to trust that he's not going to go and do that again? That is why accountability is so important here. But it doesn't seem like the Trump administration wants to hold anybody accountable for this catastrophic fuck-up. I mean, if I were serving as an intelligence officer or I was in the military, I'd have real big concerns that my next mission might not go as planned because the people in power, the people who are in charge of all this, are acting very carelessly and they're being very reckless. I mean, that's what it boils down to. I mean, this could have huge downstream effects that we won't even be able to see. It could be real bad because you could have people out in the field who just don't feel as confident in going to do their mission because they're not really sure if the people on top are looking out for them. I mean, it's just not a good thing, guys. It's not a good thing. Now, I started with Pete Hegseth because he is the person who put the classified information into that third-party messaging app, but other people who were part of that chat also used to understand these things as well. Here you've got John Ratcliffe, is that his name? Talking about how you need to be careful or you're putting people's lives at risk.
Well, they are, Maria. There are investigations. I know that because I've made a number of what are called crimes reports in connection since I've been the DNI. When I become aware of intelligence community information that is disclosed unlawfully, I do what's called a crimes report. I've done that now on a number of occasions. And so those investigations are moving forward. Whether or not and the timing of any prosecutions, that would be something that the FBI would have to address, and I think that they will down the road. But to your point, Maria, it shows that this is one of the things that is very serious. It's obviously a violation of the law. It's a crime, but it puts at jeopardy our intelligence sources and methods. We're talking about lives of brave men and women who risk their lives to collect intelligence for our community to inform members of Congress and others. And when it gets leaked, it puts them at risk. It puts their lives at risk. It's why this is so profoundly important and why I'm not going to let it go. And I'm going to continue to do the things that I can to ensure that we protect classified information and go after people that leak it.
So this is Radcliffe, who is now serving as the CIA director. He used to understand that putting this information out there in an unsecured way definitely puts people's lives at risk. And that is exactly what happened here. You've got Pete Hegseth sharing, I think, the weapons, the timing of the attack, the sequencing of the attack. I mean, what if somebody who was over in Russia accidentally lost their phone or something, and then that information got into the Houthis' hands before the attack was able to be carried out? You could have had them reposition their defense equipment, and they could have taken some of our pilots down. I mean, it is that simple. It could have been just so much worse, and we are so lucky that it wasn't. But instead of taking any accountability for any of this, these people are trying to downplay it. Oh, well, there wasn't any sources or methods in there, so it's not a big deal. It absolutely was a big deal. And these people, they used to know it. They used to understand that accountability was absolutely paramount. I mean, here's even Marco Rubio talking about how if somebody on his staff leaked material like this, they would definitely be fired and or charged.
What do you think happening now on the Democratic side? You got polls showing that Hillary Clinton is losing here in Iowa, losing in New Hampshire. You read one report after another, day after day, from the Intelligence Inspector General, for example, dozens and dozens of emails that were beyond the top secret security clearance level. Are these indictable offenses? Do you think?
Well, if in fact, I can just tell you this. Let me just say this because I don't want to politicize this since the FBI is still looking at it. But if someone on my staff were to remove intelligence information and put it on their private server, they would be fired and they would be indicted, in my opinion, or charged. No one is above the law.
Yeah, old Marco Rubio is right here. But not only has the DOJ said, or they haven't explicitly said that they won't open an investigation, but there has been no investigation that has been opened about this. Nobody in the Trump administration is calling for any accountability. Caroline Leavitt stood in the briefing room and tried to downplay the whole thing, tried to slander the reporter, tried to say it was some big hoax. I mean, these people are absolutely insane. They just do not care. They just want to operate with impunity. It's the arrogance that is just so frustrating. Because if this were anybody else, if this were the Biden administration, you best be damn sure there would be resignations. Heads would roll, and rightfully so. Because you are acting so carelessly and putting American lives at risk, you should be fired. You should resign. That is the right thing to do here. But this Trump administration doesn't seem to be worried with that at all. At all. Here's the guy who added the journalist on accident, who is talking about it only takes one piece of information and then your whole mission is blown.
So they're trying to make these comparisons, these whitewashing, kind of exercises and say, no, well, they self-reported. But we have all of these other questions that are completely unanswered. And then the next one is, well, there were only a few as compared to the volume that were found out in Mar-a-Lago, but it only takes one, guys. It only takes one key bit of information of these documents that are sitting in a school, by the way, that is accepting millions in money from the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, again, he is exactly right. It only takes one piece of information and your whole mission can be compromised. So why is it that the Secretary of Defense is sharing this type of sensitive information into a group chat, and then nobody knows that a journalist from The Atlantic is sitting in and watching this whole thing go down? I mean, the incompetence could not be more real. It is just absolutely insane to me. And to go back and watch all of these people truly understand the consequences of, sharing classified information, not talking in secured channels, and then to watch them operate today, you just kind of understand that these people don't care. All they care about is appeasing Donald Trump, making sure that Donald Trump doesn't look weak. So now they've just abandoned all of their principles, all of their values, and now they're doing so and putting the American people's lives at risk. I mean, just imagine if the Houthis got a hold of that information and took down one of our pilots. I mean, I just can't even imagine. So I think the Republicans need to suffer a huge electoral price for this. This type of stuff cannot stand, and especially when you're trying to downplay the whole thing and you're not holding anybody accountable, you need to be punished for this. You need to be punished electorally. The American people need to kick these people out of office. These people should have already resigned. And so the Democrats need to take this and use it as a message to try to, win some ground, at least in the midterms. And I wanted to show you guys this polling really quick because 60% of Republicans say it's very or somewhat serious problem that Trump officials shared military plans with a journalist in a chat app. This is a pretty big deal, okay? And if we look at all U.S. adults that were sampled there, 53% say it was very serious, 21% say it was somewhat serious. That is a huge, huge deal. The American people understand that when you are so careless, when you are so reckless in handling this type of information, that people are going to be put at risk. And that is exactly what happened here. And we are just lucky that nothing bad actually happened. So the American people understand this, and it's quite shocking that the Trump administration doesn't seem to understand this. Again, there's been no calls for accountability. There's been no calls for resignations, and instead they're just trying to blow it off or shove it under the rug. It is absolutely disgusting. We deserve better as the American people. We have people serving our country, whether it's in the intelligence agencies, whether it's in our military. We have people all over the world who are working every single day to keep us safe here at home. And for the highest level officials to be just so reckless in their behavior, so arrogant to just discuss this stuff so flippantly in a third-party messaging app, is absolutely disgusting. So let's use this to message against the Republicans. Let's make sure every American knows that this type of behavior is not acceptable, and we should be able to use this to punish these people electorally. So I will leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We got to build something here on the left that adequately pushes back against this right-wing media ecosystem that just shovels shit for the MAGA movement every single day. So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to smash that subscribe button. It's always free. And if you guys want to see how Mike Walls kind of fumbled through a Laura Ingraham video or interview about this particular topic, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.